Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me and welcome back to this third week of Covered with Nachi. Last week, we covered personal auto. I was lucky enough to have one of my favorite people join me, Flavia Salus, and we did a little bit on we did a little bit on personal auto and we chatted a lot. So there were a few items that we never got to that we didn't touch up on. I did get quite a few questions on personal autos. So this week I would go back a little bit and I'm going to respond to some of those questions and just touch base on some of those items we didn't get to. One of the questions I did get, which I thought was great, someone actually looked at their policy and inquired about bodily injury, because on their policy, bodily injury shows up twice. In Massachusetts, it is both a compulsory and an optional coverage. So the question, of course, becomes, why am I paying for it twice? So I just wanted to clarify the difference between your compulsory bodily injury and your optional bodily injury. Your Part 1 coverage, which is your compulsory bodily injury, is limited to 2040, which is again 20,000 per person, 40,000 per accident. This coverage is also limited to Massachusetts only. It will not apply in any other state. And it is also a coverage that will only apply to you, a listed driver or an authorized driver. It does not automatically extend to household members. And I'll get into that a little bit later. It is also an at fault item, which means that you must be found legally liable for the coverage to be triggered. The Part 5 optional bodily injury takes that coverage and it extends it a little bit more, right? So you are able to purchase a higher limit, number one, you're not capped at that 2040. It will extend to other states, so you don't have to worry about crossing the border to Connecticut or Rhode Island or anything like that. And it also extends automatic coverage to household members. And what that means is that if you had a household member who had not been listed on your policy and there was an accident, they would still honor the coverage for the bodily injuries to others that you are legally found responsible for. All right, so unfortunately, you do really kind of need both. I think that everybody here could use more coverage than the 2040. That's not nearly enough nowadays. And of course, too, you don't want to be limited in Massachusetts. You want to make sure that if you do cross that border for any reason, that you have the proper coverage in place. Another question I got was in regards to personal injury protection. We touched base very little on it last week. So I want to clarify, PIP is a no fault limit or no fault coverage. What that means is it does not matter if you hit someone or if someone hit you, as long as there is an injury, of course, pedestrians as well. So the PIP is limited to $8,000 per person. It is one of the limits on the policy that does not have a per accident max. So it will cover $8,000 per person if there's one person in your vehicle, or it will cover $8,000 per person if there is 6 people in your vehicle. Maybe you have a mobile or something. So there is no limit there. And PIP does cover quite a few different things. It is your medical expenses, lost wages up to 75% in Massachusetts. It does also cover for something called replacement services. And that would be, if you were injured and let's say you broke a leg and you couldn't clean your home and you had to hire a housekeeper to help you maintain for that week or 2 weeks. As long as these are reasonable expenses, it will be covered under replacement services. Same thing if you have a young child or a newborn and you need to hire a babysitter to assist while you were injured, then it will pick that up as well. So that's PIP for you. Please remember, PIP does not apply if you are driving or you are a passenger on a motorcycle. So if that is the case, please secure medical payments coverage. Do not rely on your PIP coverage. All right, another question I got was regarding discounts. Everybody wants to know how to save on their coverage. And so most brokers are probably going to be really upset at me because they might end up getting a lot of phone calls from some folks trying to save money on their policy now. And that's okay. That's kind of what this is all about. And So I wanted to share with you some of the items that I've come across. And of course, these are carrier specific. Please call your broker, call your carrier and inquire with them which discounts apply to their program, or maybe other discounts that I haven't mentioned. But some of the ones that I've seen have been low mileage discounts, credit union discounts, corporate incentive discounts. So sometimes if you work at a certain corporation, that corporation has a deal with different carriers and you could get a discount that way. Professional unions, like maybe the nurses union or the teachers union, they can get discounts at certain carriers. First responders, veterans, senior citizens. There are good student discounts. Your child or young driver can actually get discounts for maintaining, good grades in school, which is a great incentive to keep pushing them as well. There, of course, are bundling discounts. You guys hear these in commercials all the time. AAA discounts. There are young driver tracking discounts. So now there are, these little items these electronics that you can plug into your vehicle that could track your young driver habits, how fast they're going, how much they're driving. And by applying these things or adding these things to your vehicle, you could get a discount that way. There are charitable donation discounts. I mentioned last week, there's a specific carrier in Massachusetts that actually gives you a discount for giving a donation to a charitable organization. There are welcome back discounts. I think this is awful, but this happens. So if you leave a carrier and then you come back, there is a welcome back discount. Again, which is kind of annoying because you'd have to leave and then come back to get it. You think that being a loyal customer, would get you that alone, but that's also another discount. There are loyalty programs in place, and depending on how many years you accumulate discounts like that. There is also not so much a discount, but it is a rating factor in terms of additional drivers. Most people are so fearful to add another driver to their policy because they think it's automatically going to increase their premium. That is not the case. It is a standard in the industry that underwriters and actuaries know chances are someone else will be driving your vehicle. And so policies are rated and priced that way. They are rated for the unknown. However, when you then take the unknown out of the equation and you list an additional driver who has their own vehicle, who is deferred, chances are that can actually save you money, because now all of a sudden that unknown risk, that's a higher risk, is out of the equation, and now they can actually rate appropriately based on that second driver, based on that second driver having their own policy, and based on the fact that now they can actually review that second driver. So again, this only works when we're talking about second drivers who have enough years of experience, who have a good driving record, and who have their own vehicle. This is when it makes the policy go down. Of course, you don't need all those things for it to not make the policy go up at all, but in order for it to go down, we're kind of looking for those items. Hopefully that helps. Have these conversations with your broker, and hopefully you can save a little bit of money going forward. But one last thing to talk about that we didn't touch on last week is standard default. I think that one way to save is to avoid surcharges altogether. And then you don't have to try so hard and work so hard on figuring out all these other ways that you can save money because maybe you're paying for a surcharge or multiple surcharges. So again, surcharges are points that you get for tickets in accidents. And one good way to avoid these is to have a good idea of what standard defaults are and to teach your young drivers what the standard defaults are. We all think that this is kind of obvious and it's known, but you'd be surprised. A lot of times I would get people that were absolutely shocked that they would be found at fault for something. I would hear the phrase often, "Oh, well, he came out of nowhere." Obviously, there's no such thing. And so there are standards of fault that are set that help carriers make decisions that are very black and white, right? So if you rear end someone, you are at fault. That is a standard of fault. Of course, could there be, you know, this crazy one of a kind sort of situation? I'm sure some of you guys can come up with some examples that you're going to tell me about, and that's fine. But all in all, you are supposed to keep a safe distance from the driver in front of you so that if they were to stop, even if they stop short, you have enough time to stop. If you fail to do so and you rear end someone, you are at fault. In the same, if you are ever in reverse and you back into someone, you are at fault. Again, there could be that one weird case scenario where both of you are backing up at the same exact angle, same exact speed, and you hit each other, fine. However, when that is not the case, and you are backing up and someone else isn't, you are at fault. Opening your door. If you are stopped and you open your door and you block someone's right of way, I hear all the time, well, he flew by and took my door off, or he was driving too close and took my door off. It does not matter. If you open your door and you cross someone's right of way in any way and they hit you, you are at fault. Left-hand turns. I mean, we could go on and on, right? Crossing through someone's right of way. If you are coming out of a side street and someone is in the right of way and you cut them or you try to cut across, at any given time like that, you are at fault. And I will often hear arguments about, I looked, he wasn't there, he came out of nowhere. That is not a valid argument. You are at fault. We hear things about, well, he was flying down the street. Well, vehicles can't fly, number one. Number two, that's going to be very hard for you to prove what that person's speed was. So at the end of the day, what the carriers are looking at is that that person had the right of way and you cut in front of them. So keep those things in mind so that you can be better, more defensive drivers to avoid those surcharges so we don't have to worry about the discounts after the fact. Hopefully that is helpful. I am sorry about the comments about some of those excuses I've heard on claims, you know. Hopefully I didn't upset anybody with those. We do hear them so much and I think it's funny. So I like to remind people how the carrier is looking at it and how the adjuster is looking at it. But I really hope that you did learn something. Next week, I will be looking to cover personal homeowners policies and personal renters. Maybe I'll find a special guest for them too. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Please share, subscribe, let your friends know about this channel and these videos, and maybe they can learn something as well. Let me know if you have any questions through the comments or send me a private message. Bye.